Hi, I'm Elle Klein, Garrison. I am with Bramlett Partners, and I've been in real estate since 2003. When I got my license, I found myself having an opportunity to work with banks on the foreclosure side, listing properties that they had already foreclosed on. And then after the crash in 2008, I found myself needing to be able to assist clients with short sales. A short sale means that a bank is willing to take short of what a client owes on the property and, if you're lucky, forgive the remaining debt. A short sale is anything but short in time and paperwork, so you and your client need to be prepared for that. If I am representing a seller, the first thing I need to know is what their financial situation actually is. I need to know if they are already behind on their mortgage, or is it just a struggle for them to pay it right now? Because different banks handle it different ways. Some banks will require a seller to already be behind on their mortgage before they will even consider a short sale. Other ones, you can ask the bank for a forbearance if you are the seller, in which case they might agree to give you a window of time to not make your mortgage payments and then make them up in the future. The caveat to this is that they could require you to make a balloon payment at the end of your forbearance, or they will tack it on to your new mortgage payments with interest. So it essentially will raise your mortgage payments moving forward. This can be a good option if your client is in a position where they think that their situation will change. To set expectations with your seller up front on the listing side, it is important for them to have an open line of communication with their bank initially, because sellers tend, when they get in this financial situation, to ignore the phone calls and ignore the letters and think it will go away, and it won't. So they need to give you an authorization to speak to the bank directly. And this will all go into a listing packet that you present to the bank. Ask them what they require for their short sale package. They need to let their bank know that they would like to pursue a short sale and see what that process looks like for the bank. They can copy you on correspondence, and that way you are kept in the loop. When you're putting together your listing packet, the only thing that really differs from everything you'll need to include is TXR 1918. That is the short sale disclosure that a buyer will need to submit with their offer. I highly recommend going ahead and filling that out and including that in the MLS with your listing documents. That way it's at the buyer agent's fingertips. When you do a short sale, it's important to note the whole reason you're doing this is so that the bank might be willing to take short of what your client owes on the property. This is common when we've had a market like we had in 2020 through 2022, where sellers paid well over appraised value for a property and their situation may have changed. They may have separated. You never know what the situation is, but it is important for you to know that as well. Why are they in this situation in the first place? But that's where you need to have that open line of communication with the bank and find out what they need for their short sale package. Typically, it's going to be a hardship letter, mortgage, hardship proof of income or lack thereof, a current mortgage statement. They can ask their lender for that and they should send that to them. You will want to provide the bank with a market analysis that shows what they're competing with. And you'll also want to go ahead and fill out a listing agreement with your client and have that together in the listing package, along with your listing guide that shows what your marketing will be. For the list price, I highly recommend going on the low end and knowing that if you market it as a short sale, you will likely have investors that come in that low ball. These can be wildly successful. I think the largest short sale I've done, the bank agreed to take $90,000 below what the list price was, and we listed on the low end. So if they can avoid paying the attorney's fees and the foreclosure costs and the eviction proceedings and all of that, they would rather take less than what a seller owes on a property than go through that whole process. Property preparation for a short sale can vary greatly. It totally depends on what the property looks like as you do your first walkthrough and what position your seller is in. There are situations where the seller may be in a position where they have a lot of deferred maintenance on the property. It might not be in great condition. This is a case where you will want to really pay attention to property value, market value, and where you suggest the pricing. Now, when you suggest pricing and you submit your packet to the bank can always come back and say, we want it priced at this, and it can be higher than what you suggested. I have never had a bank come back and say they want it priced lower than my suggestion. But as far as property prep goes, my normal process is I will pay for a stager. I will pay for professional photos. I want to show this property in the best light. A short sale might not always be in the best light. If it is a property that looks like it would benefit from staging and your client has the means to make any repairs or do any staging, by all means, do it. But most of the time, a client going into a short sale situation is already past that point. The caveats to doing a short sale, the first thing you want your seller to ask their lender is, will their debt be forgiven? Because even if it won't be entirely forgiven, whatever the amount that it will be forgiven, they need to speak to their tax professional to find out if the IRS will consider that forgiven debt as income. It's important to note during a short sale, the bank might halt the foreclosure process, but they can reinstate it at any time. That's why it is important for you as a listing agent to be in constant communication with the lender. They also might halt your mortgage payments during the short sale process. The other question that you need to ask the bank is, if my seller makes a partial payment or a mortgage payment during the short sale process, how will that affect them? Because every once in a while, a seller will come into some funds and they think, oh, I want to get back on top of this. And so they'll send in a mortgage payment or a partial mortgage payment, and that negatively affects their short sale because the bank then looks at it as they do have the means to pay this. On the buyer side, if you are representing somebody who is interested in a short sale, the first thing they need to be aware of, just like your seller, is it is anything but short. So if this is an owner occupant looking for a short sale property, they need to be aware that if they are in a situation where they've got to be out of their place in 2 months, a short sale is probably not the best route for them to take. My longest short sale took 18 months. So typically, if they put in an offer, that offer is then submitted to the bank. Once the bank gets it, it can take them another 1 to 3 months to review that offer and get back. And then if it continues on in negotiations, if it's not just a cut and dry, yes, we'll take it, no, we won't, then that just draws out the length of time. It's also important to note that most short sales will be sold 100% as is because the seller does not have the funds to make any repairs. So if it needs repairs, lender required repairs aren't going to happen. So most of the time in the short sales that I've done, it's been investors who have purchased it because they don't have a time frame and it's 100% a business decision for them. The other caveat right now is how lenders will handle buyer agent fees. So this is something that we have not really come across. As a buyer agent, I'm always going to ask for a lender or a seller to pay my fee. So it's something that'll be in the negotiation process. Previously, banks would often pay a buyer agent fee. They wouldn't always pay 3%. 2.5% was sort of the going rate. But again, that was something that could often be negotiated with the bank. If you are working with a client on a short sale, regardless of if it's on the buy side or the sale side, the most important thing is to have an open line of communication with them, with the other agent, with the lender if you are on that side, and also frequent updates. You do have to have a lot of patience. You also need to have a lot of empathy in the situation. You need to remember that most sellers, if they are in a situation where they need to pursue a short sale, they're probably embarrassed about it. They've already done the hard part by reaching out to you. So this is where you need to have that empathy and compassion and be able to lift them up and walk you through this process. You are doing them a great value of service by helping them with this. So if this is your first short sale, regardless of what side you're on, ask someone for help who has done it before. Thanks again for watching. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime if you need help walking through a short sale. I'm happy to do it. I am Elle, Klein, Garrison with Bramlett Partners.